Copart Special, run and drive. It's about the first time they ever made an accurate description of the car, because this one really does run and drive, considering the state of it. This is another one I was talking about previously in another video. I said I would bring you another car that I feel was for absolutely for nothing really for the money, and at some point in this video I'm going to tell you just how cheap this little car was, and it was very, very cheap. Of course, as usual, they asked for twice the amount that we won it for, but we stuck to our guns. I'm going to give you a very, very brief description of it before we start doing a few bits to it. So you can see it has had a little whack here, and it has just pushed everything back. Cracked the grille, cracked the bumper. The headlight is sort of secure, so it's probably going to want a lug kit on it. I mean, we don't know, do we, till we strip it down, but this is very repairable, this is very repairable. Again, we don't know until we get to it. You'd like to buy it looking at that side, it looks absolutely perfect. And then going around this side, pretty similar damage to the little black Polo that we previously done. Apart from, I don't think it's nowhere near as bad. Of course, that back axle is all bent up. The back bumper has had a right wallop on that corner that's caused that damage, and it's also broke the back light, the inner light, and got a little bit of damage there on the tailgate. Let's have a quick look in here, see if there's any boot floor damage. Absolutely not, just as we expected. I genuinely think this was a very, very little cheap car for the money. And let's see the mileage on this one, 46,000 miles. I know someone's going to say, well, it's an eco boom. Yeah, I'm afraid 90% of these are now, and that is what you get when you buy it. Anyway, no time to mess around. I need to get the bits for this, so we're going straight down to our good old friends Reclamet, because we know they're going to, I'm not even going to call, I know they're going to have the bits for this car down there. They're very, very popular now, and they're very popular for people to repair and also break. Let's get down there and get the bits we need to get this one back on its wheels. And just like that, we're back. And I stopped at home on the way. The final part for the Maserati, so we'll get that in a minute. We can get that video finished soon. So, back bumper with PDCs and quite a lot of scratches, bit of damage, but it was really reasonably priced. And as long as our one's got PDCs, we're going to be using it. I'm sure it has. I'll have a look in a minute. Rear bumper bar. Don't know if we're going to need it, but I grabbed it anyway while I was there. Rear light, we're definitely going to need. I've just realised I've got a wheel in here for an Evoque that I borrowed off Reclamet about 3 weeks ago to get a car on its wheels. I've just been down there and I didn't return it. That was silly, wasn't it? And, most important, a rear beam. I should have a pair of gloves on really, shouldn't I? There is a complete rear axle, and you can see it's off a nice low mileage clean car. So I guess I'm going to get the rest of the van cleared out. Just stuff that you don't see on like the other videos. You'll never get to see them. But you know, like the M235i, we bought a set of wheels for it. Well, the two that was still on the car, I sent off to Smart Services and I had them refurbished. And that is now, I can put them on eBay and recoup a bit of our money. Look how nice they come up. Let me know if you need an M235i wheel. Right, let's get this back axle fitted and get this car on its wheels and get a nice tyre on it so we can drive it. What a beautiful day, and genuinely I really don't mind working outside. So the first things first, I need to just remove both of those back lights, and then of course there's a couple of trim clips from the wheel arch liners going into the bumper. I'll pull the lights out, and there's actually one screw underneath each light, and then just those trim clips, 2 little tens underneath, and then the back bumper you can see just pulls off, revealing actually no damage behind it, which is lovely. I actually saved everyone a fair amount of torture there, because after that bit of time lapse I've literally spent, yes, over an hour with locking wheel nuts, the absolute bane of our lives. I know a lot of you said in the comments you can just take a picture of it and send it off. Of course, we just want to crack on with these cars as soon as they arrive, but it's another one with no locking wheel nut, and I managed to actually get one of my sockets straight over the top of it, banged it. That was a passenger side one, that come off. This side, I don't know why, I expected it to be a bit looser because it had a whack, and you can see I've ended up drilling 2 bits in it there just so that I could get a chisel in there and give it a good wallop. Now, I know some of you are going to say, Rob, why on earth are you working on this outside when you've got a perfectly good ramp? Now, we've got the M235i on the ramp, and there's no drive shaft in it. We're waiting for the new one to arrive. This cannot go outside until it's got a windscreen in it. So, I mean, it is an absolutely beautiful day today. Look at that sun. So, I don't mind. But most importantly, I think the damage doesn't look that bad. Looking up underneath here, you can see the extent of it is really not that bad at all. And I've not got any problem saying Chris is going to get that absolutely perfect and repair that. I think the most important thing at the moment for me is let's get a tyre on that, and let's actually swap this axle out. I don't want to do it outside, but then it is just brake lines. You've got your 2 bolts, one at the front there, one the other side, and you've got your shocks. They want changing, so we go in the boot. We got them with the new one, so we chuck it in as one unit. But let's get it jacked up, get it all secure, get some axle stands under there, get the front wheels chocked up, of course, because I can't have the handbrake on, and let's get that rear beam swapped out. So moving on, I'm going to say it's not a lot of work, but it is quite time consuming, and the bolts are real tough in the rear beam. They've been in there a long time, haven't they? And they do look quite rusty, those bolts. Even though they're not, they are rusty on the end, so they take a while to get out. And of course, the majority of the work was getting that locking wheel nut undone. It genuinely did take over an hour. It just kept breaking on that driver's side, so I had to just keep hitting it till eventually I did get it off. I think we're near enough there, and I should be just about ready to actually slide out that rear axle and then go and get the new one over here ready to put it back in. Let's take a look. And just like that, we have got the old one out, and you can see clearly now that I've got them together how much nicer the new one is compared to the old one. Looks like it's lived down the coast, definitely. And as I was undoing these 13s, they was just unwinding. They was actually winding the pipe undone. You can see there that the pipe is all corroded and it's actually all coiled up. So I managed to just fold the shocks down out the way, just pull it out from underneath, but it doesn't look like any of the mounting points are touched. They all seem to be fine. So I'm just going to get these old cables that have been cut out of these handbrakes, and I think it's time for me to slide this one back under. I'm probably going to hang it off the shocks because they're just 2 10s there, 2 10s the other side. You can see they bolt just one there and one there, and once they're in, it is just hanging there then, and I'll be able to get the jack underneath it, because these are a very tight fit. They are a tight fit to get in. I had to get the bar in there and just lever them out. So far so good. Let's get it in now, and then we can get a tyre and get this one looking square and back on its wheels. So that's just the reverse process. So I'm going to slide it in there under the jack, and I know it seems like a bit of a backward way of doing it, but I'm going to hang it off of the rear shocks. Then I'm going to get the jack underneath it, jack up, and then get the main bolts into the rear beam. Once I've got both of those in, you can see I'm going to lower those 10s again on the rear shocks, then slide the springs in, jack it back up, put the 10s in, and then that is it. That's all of the bolts done up, and I just need to connect up the brake lines, connect up both of those handbrake cables, and then that's going to be the rear axle completely changed. Well, this side wasn't a problem anyway, was it? But it's back absolutely perfect. And I think you would agree. I'll tell you what, there's one way to find out, isn't there? Whether that one there is absolutely perfect. Let's lower that down. Bring that there, and you can see I've just popped to A2 tyres and grabbed a tyre for it. And this is the original wheel, and you would find it hard to believe. Let me spin it round. 20 grams. 20 grams of weight. That wheel has not got one tiny little buckle in it, which is, it's crazy really. It just shows you how soft things like these back axles really are, because it's bent it and hasn't put any damage on the wheel. It is literally not a mark on this wheel. It's got curb marks from previous, obviously hitting curbs, but nothing from the damage. I'm going to say already you can tell it's going to be absolutely fine. We nailed that. That is absolutely perfect. Well, it'll definitely drive straight now, won't it? Right, I guess I'm not going to touch that. I did say I'm not going to touch that, and Chris is not here at the moment, so I'm going to stay in my lane and leave that little job there to Chris, but I am going to continue on doing other bits to this car, including, let's strip a bit of this off and see how bad it is, because the bumper is tucked under there a little bit, and of course it is all popped out here, so I want to know what we need for the front of it and actually get that all arranged. Let's crack on with that. And that is it. Now it is all driving nice. I know I did say I was going to get straight onto the front bumper, but this car is absolutely filthy. Every time I touch it, I've got dirty hands. It's obviously been sat around for quite a while, so I've just chucked a bit of Jenny Chem wash and wax in a bucket, a bit of wheel cleaner, and I've just sprayed it on the wheels. Unfortunately, I blew the jet wash up about a week ago. When it was icy, I was jet washing the patio at home on a Sunday morning, and I broke it, so I'm just waiting for that to be repaired. Well, I'm waiting for the part, I'm going to repair it. Now, I know I said I was going to crack on with the front end of it, and someone's going to say, why did you bother? It's actually really important to know really where you're at, and I need to know where we're at with this car paintwork wise. I think you'd agree, it come up beautiful with just a little wash. But look at that door. That's quite bad, but I've just spoke to Gary down at Reclamat, and he's got a door in colour. So we're not even going to mess around with that. By the time you've messed around, tried repairing it, there is a bar in there, and there's a lot of ripples in that. You are better off just replacing that door. Going round to the back, again, I just washed it all down, washed all up under the arches, because it all was quite mucky, and just cleaned up this area here where obviously Chris is going to be working on that, but the rest of the quarter panel looks fine, that door looks fine, tiny little mark in it, and you're all going to be happy with what I found on the front end in a minute. Like, you've got that bit of bumper hanging off there, this is pushed back, you can see it is. Just before I show you, just quickly, Jenny Chem have bought out a new salvage rebuilds bucket. So everything you see in this picture, you are going to get in that bucket. Your drying cloth, wash mitt, your bucket with your grate in the bottom of it, wheel cleaner, snow foam, quick wax, interior cleaner, sapphire super, glass cleaner, TFR, and that wash and wax shampoo. I just used the wash and wax shampoo, a bit of the TFR, and the wheel cleaner down there on the wheels. But beautiful little car. Is going to need a fair bit of paint work, but we'll try and reduce it by sticking a door on it in colour. Hopefully it matches nice, and of course the back bumper and front bumper. So the front panel, probably worth me just showing it once more, just so that you can see it. You can see there, clear as anything. I know that's got a little dent in it, but you can see that this is really tucked back underneath. So once you do open it, I noticed it straight away. Let's get that bonnet propped back up. you can see there, it's that the front panel's actually moved on the bolt. You see that? So if I undo that 10mm bolt, this literally is a plastic front panel. It has broke that headlight lug, you can see there. But if I undo that 10mm, which I'm going to do, I reckon that front panel will pull back exactly where it needs to go. So that is exactly what I'm going to do first. I'm going to get that out there, make sure it all lines up. I am going to knock this little dent out the bonnet here, get that all lined up, and then we'll have a look behind that bumper and possibly fixing this one. I think it's fixable, but let's see how we get on. Well, here's a new one. I don't know how. Make sure I left myself enough room to get in there with the tools, but right, are we ready? You see how much that went? Let's get that pinched up a little bit. I think that actually, before I do, that wants to go a little bit. I'm not going to be able to hold it too much. It may be too much now, it may not be. You don't know until you check. Right. Again, I should have probably knocked that little dent out the bonnet first, because I'm not going to be able to get the bonnet shut, am I? Let's zoom out a bit as well. Yeah, it's definitely too far now, isn't it? Or is it the headlight? Oh, I don't know. Let me just pause there, get that dent knocked out that bonnet, and then we'll have a look. Actually, on camera, it looks alright, but it's not. It's not. It's actually like the bonnet's really high there as well, and that's knocked down. But looking through the gap there, I can see that there's actually like a wire pulled off. I don't know if this has been off before or somebody's had a play with it before, but that clipped back in that side. But as soon as you pull it, it just doesn't feel nice. I don't know whether the bumper bar's got a bit of damage. So I am going to strip that off, and I can also see that that bumper, the sides where the wheel arch line are actually bolts to, you can see it has all detached, so there's a good chance this is going to need a new bumper. But I'm going to strip that off just so that we can all see it, and of course I can order whatever it is that we do need. I'm actually sitting here chuckling to myself because someone's going to say, Rob, you said you was going to say the price of this car in the video, and you haven't. And I have, because I'm going to stick it right in the middle of this. Odometer, all clear. Financial and legal, all clear. And damage, clearly highlighted. This does show you, even though we know we're buying salvage vehicles, when you're purchasing your vehicle, you need to run a check using Car Vertical. If there is anything untoward or to know about your car, you're going to find it on your Car Vertical check. So damage needs attention. Click on it and it's going to tell us that the vehicle was damaged, marked as an insurance write-off, and underneath give us the date and the category of the car. So in January 2025, this vehicle was marked as a Category S structurally damaged repairable vehicle. Also on here you got your theft, you got your odometer, which gives you the last known mileage, 42,433, your financial and legal status, of course your damage, natural disasters, market values, emissions, specs, ownership, and of course that handy timeline that I really like. You would have noticed as well on the check, it actually said right on the front page overview there that it's only got one owner found, which is really nice. This is a one owner car, and would you believe I won this car for £1,350. I'll include a picture at the end of this check. So just going through the rest of the check, of course, the timeline. Let's get back to that. So you've got your registration date, an inspection there, another inspection, and then a failed technical inspection. You'll find all of your failed technical inspections and pass on the Car Vertical check. And you can see there that the fail was just front brake discs in such a condition that it is seriously weakened. So it needed new discs. Then you've got an advisory there for actually all of the tyres. Then on the MOT that it passed just after the brakes were rectified, you can see it passed with those advisories of the 4 tyres there, and then your damage detected. I want to thank Car Vertical for the continued support on the channel. To benefit from a nice little discount off your check, use that code that's been displayed up on screen throughout the check, or just hit the link in the description where it will divert you to Car Vertical, already including that lovely little discount. So with it all nice and clean, of course we don't want to work in the water, so I've put it back in the bay where I was working, but in reverse. I know it does seem throughout this video I've been working quite close to that Maserati, but I am actually far enough away from it. I'm not going to cause any damage to it. So just a few bolts, 10 mils down the inside of the wheel arch, driver's side, same on the passenger side. There was 6 trim clips underneath to remove, 2 fog light wires, and that's the front bumper removed. Let's take a look and see if there's actually any damage hidden behind that bumper. So what do you guys reckon? Put it in the comments down below. Is this worth repairing? Is it repairable? We've got just some small scratches along the bottom, all well fixable. The grille, the more you look at it, the more it's out of shape. It is toast. It's split there, it's out of shape there, and of course it's got that crack there, and it's pushed through. Now the bumper isn't completely broke all the way through. Let's stand it up, and none of the fog lights are broke either. And when you push it all together, it does actually all go together okay. So do I get a grille for it? Is it going to break if I repair that when you're putting a new grille in? I don't know. Also, we've got this down the side here. Again, it can be. We've got that 2-pack glue in there, which is unbelievably, amazingly strong, and it would never come off. So that could go back on, but it's one of those. Let me just price up a new bumper for it. And the headlights, you can see, I've done the usual trick, and I've propped a bit of wood under there because that inside lug is broke, and that one is exactly the same. But you can see that gap down there is absolutely fine. I mean, maybe it's a little bit big. It could come over a little tiny bit, but round the headlight is pretty tight there. And then when you get to this side, again, this is not propped perfectly where it needs to be. That one's quite low, but that front panel has had a wallop, hasn't it? Let's just pop that bonnet again. Normally I'd be walking around with this with Chris, but like I say, he's not here, so I think that dent come out all right. Just I'll put Chris's dolly on the top, just a little tap underneath, 2 taps, and I think you'd agree it's pretty good. Right, let's get that bonnet propped up. I know someone's going to notice that Celotex as well that's been wedged in. It's had a brand new battery put on it, and it's slightly too small. They put a piece of Celotex in there. Don't worry, we will be replacing that. So you can see that lug there's broken. There's a bit of adjustment on there, and of course that lug there is broken as well. But this front panel, like I say, it has a little bit of a whack. There's nothing visible to me apart from all of this, of course, is all cracked and split, so that's going to need that absorber, that's going to need changing. And you've got a few bits here that come out once I pulled it off, and you can see there's little tiny bits still down inside there that want cleaning out. But overall, it doesn't look like the bumper bar's touched. I mean, I haven't really got proper into depth, but it hadn't had a bad whack here, did it? It's just a little crack. And earlier on, when I was looking through the bumper and I said, I think something's been off before, I noticed that that was missing. So obviously it only has 1 horn on it, and this is a bracket for 2. So maybe it goes on different cars, but nothing else seems to be broken. So I guess I'm going to ring around, try and get a price for that new front bumper. And of course, this bumper absorber and any other little bits. I'm just going to make a bit of a list, but I probably am going to pull this off, to be fair, and have a good look behind it. Yeah, it's just not bent, is it? Nothing behind there is bent. No, it's not. Right, let's get on the phone and see if Reclamat have got a front bumper for it. Really, I should have probably stripped it first, but I was so desperate to get it back on its wheels so that it was a runner and a driver, and I think we've achieved that, haven't we? It does run and drive now, and I really don't think it's going to be as bad as I thought it was going to be. So you're going to need paint on that quarter panel, paint on the rear bumper and boot lid. That quarter's fine. A replacement door and a replacement front bumper. So really, overall, not that bad. Honestly, this is going to be another one where you blink and it's over. I think as long as I can get Chris to, as soon as he gets back, get him straight on that quarter panel, get that just about right. It's going to be nothing for him, is it? Then this one I can send off up for the paint shop. I've just located a front bumper for it. We've got the back bumper in the back of it, and I've got a door on the way for it. So we want to do as minimum paint work as we possibly can, but of course we want to do it the most cost effective way as well. I told you earlier on how cheap we bought this car, and I still can't believe they actually let us have it. It's crazy really, because I've seen them go for up to 3 times the amount of what we paid for, which is unbelievable. Maybe a little bit less because it is a 68 reg, but I'm certainly well over the moon with it. A lot of you do always ask in the videos, most recently is, what's the name of the airbag company you use? And that's Airbag Service Limited, because just people forget, we go on to the next video, we're on to something else and they want to know. But what I will say is, like Car Vertical, Airbag Service, Jenny Chem, those links are always in the description of each and every video. And if you can't quite find it, when you click on the description, it does only come up with the first line and it says more. As soon as you click on that in the video description, it will come up with everything on there, including about us and various other bits and pieces in there as well. That is going to be the end of the first video on the little Ford Fiesta. If you did enjoy it, of course, I'd appreciate that thumbs up. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Salvage Rebuilds. The links for them are in the description down below. Don't forget, like, subscribe and share, and we'll look forward to seeing you all very, very soon in the next one. Watching that back, and someone's going to say, yeah, but the front bumper's on it. You can see I've literally just pushed it back on there, just so it's not like left in the yard or taking up space in the container.